All right, welcome everyone. I am sitting here with Monica, who has recently completed her work doing a purpose discovery and embodiment journey, and we're we're inviting you to join us for our last session to kind of see what her experience was like. So, Monica, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, glad.
Thank you for sharing and generously opening the kimono on your experience. So let me ask you, what had you do this work? Because you've done so much personal development work. You've even done other purpose work before. What was it that said, okay, now is the time. I need to go deep with a guide.
hmm Well, I mean, I think outwardly it was definitely where I was in life. Having just finished my 20-plus-year career with, in the corporate world as an HR executive, and knowing that I wanted to do something different with my life. I'm just over 50, and I wanted the next decades to matter to me and to matter to the world. And so I think that's kind of the outward story. The inward story, however, is I think I was, for lack of better word, called to check around, because I found myself listening to webcasts and reading books that I wouldn't normally pick up, or listening to people online that I wouldn't normally listen to. And through that, as you know, I found one of the webcasts where you were on, and it intrigued me to just reach out and call you up and said, let's see what that Brendan has to offer.
Cool. And if I could just ask a clarifying question, what was it that had you say, okay, I'm finishing my corporate work, and I'm going to go, create this space for myself to go explore purpose? Because you could have stayed in, right? You're a high performing, highly paid executive, but you decided, something's got to shift. I need more in this next journey. What was it that had you say, I'm going to create this next chapter, more purposefully?
Well, I mean, I think, partly, again, I had the time and the means to take a break, and I wanted to make this break meaningful, not just go out on a long vacation, because I wanted to get some guidance on what was coming next. I knew that I was going to get into some kind of coaching and leadership development, but I wanted to get clearer. And more importantly, as I said, I wanted it to matter to me and to the world at large in some ways. So what really triggered it for me was that, the purpose guiding at least promised to be a process that, not only coached me in my next step and, where I would like to go with my career, but actually aligning it to something that's really deeply within me. And that was really important. And that was the trigger, I think.
Yeah. Cool.
You're a nice guy. And I thought, okay, let's try that out.
And in terms of, what you got out of it, now that you're on the other side of it, what would you say are yeah, I can hang my hat on this experience. This is now the new normal. What would you say has shifted for you in our time?
Well, I mean, one is, from a job career development and direction, I am definitely clear on my next steps and, how and what I want to be, this coaching that I want to do. What is it for? And, who is it for? So a really clear indication. And, I mean, I can say that I will definitely want to be a purpose guide for business leaders in the future. Now, that still has to be, built into a proposition and into a business, but I'm so clear and aligned to this that the number one and a real. What I didn't expect, and what also happened, is that it actually affected some other parts of my life. I didn't go in and thought, okay, well, let me think about relationships or let me think of where I want to live. But I guess in the process, it started to, swipe into these areas of my life as well, which was really great. I mean, I think, I have decided to move to a different city. I'm gonna, kind of start a new life in some ways in a different community, and that I think is in alignment with my work that I want to do. I, have certainly opened myself up to more intimate relationship that I want to invite. It's not here yet, but I'm very hopeful that there will be some in the future, which also wasn't a topic or something that I had thought about deeply in the last years. And in general, just wanting to spend meaningful time with people, and a little bit more watching out my physique and my the physical body. So it's kind of like a holistic roundabout
Mm-hmm.
improvement package.
Yeah.
Improvement package.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just, and I've shared this with you before, like your, I don't know, your presence is different. I mean, there's more joy. It feels like there's more kind of softness and at the same time aliveness than there was before. Like, because I remember when we first talked, there was like, okay, we'll see. It was very kind of reserved and like, you had definitely
guarded,
a little guarded, a little cynical, a little like, well, how do I know? And but I also want to ask you, like, because it's more than just intention and clarity. Like, you've actually started taking action already.
Yes.
You mind sharing, like, what are the new decisions that you made, and what did you put out in your future that's now different?
Well, one is I'm actually just now started a purpose guide training with the True Purpose Institute. The other kind of a big decision I made was to go into kind of a business partnership with a good friend of mine, and we knew that we would do something together. But I think through this purpose guiding process, it became clear where the overlaps in our work are, and they're very strong and they're very deep. And I think I also, through this took her on this journey as well and got her excited about purpose guiding. So kind of ripple effects. Also, it was very clear, or I think what is clear also is what I don't want to do, which was, before I started this process, it was like, okay, so I've had a 20-year career in HR. I might do HR coaching or HR consulting because that's my craft, right? And I think through this process, I realized that I might have experiences and they may come in handy, but it's certainly not something that I would like to continue. So that's equally cool and important.
Yeah, that decisiveness, being able to say, like, maybe my strategic mind would say, okay, well, go get some clients in this area because it's a natural extension. But like, there's a deeper awareness that says, actually, no, like we're going this direction. If it doesn't look like that, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So, you talked a little bit about kind of how it filled out some other parts of your life in terms of, wanting deeper relationships. I'm wondering if you could share just a little bit about your relationship to self-expression and style and how that's evolved.
Well, I mean, I think I've always had a little bit pink in my life. I think because of, tapping into the passion that I feel very strongly inside, I do think it's become a lot more of an aware process. Even when I go out and buy dresses or the new haircut that I have, or, I mean, I didn't say cut that hair like that, but I think I would have, 6 months or 12 months ago, I would have said, oh no, do it like we did it before, right? So I think the being spontaneously able and willing to try out some new things and have fun with it. I think that's, and as I said, I'm moving to a new city and in a new space, and I'm already in my head starting to think about my purposeful space and how I want to, create the right home for me, which is very fun.
Yeah. And I think that's something that kind of gets missed a lot in how people think about purpose, is like that there's actually an element of adventure and fun and creativity. And you're kind of, you're beginning with like two really big areas in your life, like your home and your community, and then your career. Like it's like there's a, you know, you're engaged in the creation process. It's not just that kind of like decision making, but it's like, no, I'm actually gonna go have fun with this at the same time.
Yeah.
Cool. And would you mind sharing just a little bit about how some of your close relationships have shifted, or about how your approach to those relationships has evolved?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think because some of the close relationships have been lifelong relationships, I don't think that, the other experience me of a completely different person, because they were very close relationships to begin with. I think what has shifted is my own approach to them, or better, I should say, the fastness by which I catch myself when I fall back into some kind of a rut of, for example, with my, sister, where there's often a little bit of a competitiveness between us. And I think it's still there, but I catch myself a lot right now, and I can shift it and I can say, no, that's not what I want. So it's more a choice for me right now to choose to make the relationship different.
Wow.
And that works well.
Great. Now, would you mind sharing just a little bit about the actual process, and like what were the exercises that made the biggest difference for you, or like, just share a little bit about your experience going through the journey, and what you found most impactful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think said that to you before. I think that the purpose quest, the going out in the land and really having a, full on body, mind, and soul experience of going into deep inquiry about, what am I meant to be doing, was personally the most powerful part. And I loved the whole building up to it, not only to build that going out in the land and being, able to create how I want to do it, where I want to do it, and what I want to do. But also I'm very clear that, a lot of these months of work before had to happen in order for it to be so powerful. I think it was really, in the beginning of the process, the one thing I was kind of skeptical about and, wasn't sure if it would be powerful and really work was some of the meditative exercises that you suggested we do. And I must say, I've learned for the better that it's absolutely doable to do via video and thousands of miles away. And I think, that's kudos to you. You're a master of doing it over the phone and kind of virtual distance. It certainly gave me permission, and I'm now interested in hopefully trying and bringing this into the work that I will do in the future. Because I think certainly for me, I had this thought that, deep, introspective meditational work had to be in one space, it had to be in person. And I certainly learned for the better that it's absolutely possible to go really deep when you are in a video conference between Munich and San Francisco. So.
Yeah, and thank God, because I mean, this work wouldn't be able to like spread as quickly if it wasn't for the good people at Zoom and Skype who create these tools for us.
I guess what I also want to say is I liked how you held the space. I mean, sometimes I felt like, damn, now I have to do my homework. My coach is waiting for me. So it was a bit, it was gentle pressure, but there certainly was a bit of this, not letting me off the hook. At the same time, I also felt that you were able to, be very supportive and very helpful in many instances to kind of get me to see through things and keep going. So I think, well done.
Thanks, Monica. And lastly, what would you say to somebody who's considering living a life or creating a deeper connection to their higher purpose? Like, what if you could like leave a message for humanity and say, this is what you should think about, or this is what you should do? I mean, what would you share with others?
Well, first of all, do it. Absolutely do it. If any part of you feels like you want to do something like this, then do it. And the other thing is that I think that, I mean, there is not a lot out there, but there are some different guides and coaches out there that are doing purpose work. Use the time to choose somebody that you feel comfortable with and drawn into. I think the other thing that I realized, which actually has probably brought me back into this world, is that it's so important to find a purpose guide or a coach that works with both the ego and the spirit, to bring both parts together. I mean, that's true purpose guiding in a nutshell, is to take the journey, the ego on the journey to align with what the soul wants. So, there's of course no other way to do it, but yes, do
Okay.
it.
Do it. Thank you. Well, Monica, it was my pleasure to work with you, and I'm really excited to welcome you soon into our tribe of other guides, because the world is aching for it, and you're gonna do an incredible job leading business leaders into a purpose-driven expression and high impact future. So it was my pleasure to serve you.
I'm really excited, and I have a feeling that this is not the last time we'll talk.
Yeah, exactly. We're bonded. It's
You're bonded, exactly.
we're bonded.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
Bye. Take care.